So this huge pile of disorganisation is the majority of my vintage knitting pattern collection. So we have recently redecorated upstairs. So my daughter has moved from her nursery room into the bigger bedroom, and her old nursery room is going to become my craft room. And there's not as much space upstairs, so I need to go through this here and sift out the patterns that I no longer want to keep. And I thought I would do a video and you can see what patterns I've got in my collection so far. But before I tackle the pile, it's time for a hot chocolate and contemplate my life choices. I've been collecting vintage knitting patterns for several years, and the items that I have are a mix of ones I bought for myself online, from eBay and Vinted, or have been passed on to me. I started with checking envelopes for patterns in case there are any hiding inside, as on one occasion I nearly chucked away some 1940s patterns into recycling. There were a few sewing patterns as well, and then started going through the books and magazines, and many of these were old Rowan knitting magazines that were given to me by my grandmother-in-law when she stopped knitting. So yeah, I'm really happy. So well, at the moment I'm trying to sort it out in between knitting leaflets, knitting books, more modern magazines, and there's more folders behind me. But something that's really cool that's just happened is I've just found a pattern, this one, this lovely 1960s dress that I actually had my eye on Vinted, and I already had it anyway. So yeah, it's always good to have a good organisation and clear out and then rediscover things that you forgot that you had. Oh, I'm chuffed about that. I then moved on to the individual leaflet patterns and divide them into piles of women's, men's, children's, accessories and home soft furnishings patterns. I then discovered that I had 2 copies of Stitchcraft magazine from February 1949. The beautiful clothes and knitwear aren't the only reason I collect vintage patterns. They also reflect what was happening at this point when they were published. An example of this are these patterns from the 1940s. During the war, paper was rationed, so patterns became smaller and were printed on thinner paper. You can see the size difference between February's Stitchcraft from 1949 and October's 1949. I also love the hair and makeup of the models on the front of these knitting patterns, and I think the woman's hair here is just absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. This is the oldest pattern in my collection and is very fragile. There's no date on it, but my guess is around about the First World War, so the late 1910s, just based on the style of the clothing in the photographs. And there's also an interesting photograph of a one-armed soldier making macrame lace. It has patterns of baby booties and table coverings and a sailor collar tunic. I also found these old friends. These are patterns that I have resized and knitted for myself, and have uploaded these as shorts on my YouTube channel, and 2 of these patterns are on my blog for free. After 3 hours, I'd been through and organised my patterns that I wanted to keep, and rediscovering my hot chocolate that I'd forgotten about, which was now a cold chocolate. The patterns that I am keeping, I've put back into boxes and storage until my craft room is ready. And to prove that I'm not keeping them all, this is the pile of patterns that I'm either going to donate or sell on. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll keep you updated on my vintage makes and on my craft room.